So at this point, we basically have like the bare bones of a website now. We have a bunch of content. We've explored different ways to display the content, looked at a few ways to submit information, and also how to display information in a table. Now that we've done all that, it's time to take a brief look at JavaScript and what it can do on our website. Before we kind of dive in, let's explore it in a tutorial first. So I'm going to go to my tutorials. I'm going to call this 9-2 JavaScript. I'm going to make a sample file, just call it javascript.html. And we're also going to create a JavaScript file that's literally a type of JavaScript. So we're going to do javascript.js. JS is our extension for a JavaScript file. You'll see this little JS will appear. Okay, let's close down some of this. You can borrow the template. We won't really have any CSS, so I'm just going to delete that. But we are going to have a JavaScript file. Now, normally we put CSS in the head. JavaScript we're going to have later on. The idea is when you render a website, you read from top to bottom. And sometimes our JavaScript does things on our HTML site. It interacts with the elements, the headers, the table elements, things like that. So you want the content to be created first and then have your JavaScript run. So pretend we have a bunch of stuff in our body. The JavaScript is going to occur after. To create it, we're going to write the tag script, and the attribute is source, src. You need to tell it about this JavaScript file. You start typing javascript.js, you'll see it. And now we've linked our JavaScript file. So essentially it works very similar to the CSS link, but we use script for JavaScript. You tell it the source, and you put at the bottom so our content renders first, then JavaScript will happen. Okay. So for now, I'm just going to make a test header. Just going to open this up. Okay. So right now it's just this blank spot. So let's start writing some JavaScript. We basically have we looked at three different kind of languages for website development. We looked at HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. JavaScript is probably the only true programming language of the three. It has a lot of kind of advanced concepts, and I'm just going to touch on the surface of some of these concepts. So let's look at some of the things JavaScript can do. We can create basically built-in functions. Let me show you one of them. I'm going to do the function alert, parentheses. If you're familiar with mathematics, the parentheses here are basically like an input. This is the thing you want to put into a function. It's going to do something and then maybe return something. Alert says, give me an input, and whatever the input is, I'm going to show that to the user when this function runs. So let's try it. I'm just going to write hello user. I'll save this. So when this script loads, it's going to run this function. So if I go back to my website, click refresh, the page is going to build. It's going to hit this script and run this function. And you can see the page will say hello user. Okay, cool. What else could we do? You could prompt. And prompt functions very similar to alert. You're going to display a message, but prompt actually receives a value from the user. So I could write, what is your name? Now when we refresh, it's going to run these two lines. It's going to first alert me, and then it's going to prompt me. Hello user, it ran the first line, and then it prompts, what is your name? I could type it in. But it doesn't do anything. We have to tell it what to do. Now, we're going to use this here, the prompt. The syntax we're going to use, I'm going to make a comment here. 2 forward slashes creates a comment that our code doesn't read. The syntax we're going to write is var for a variable, the variable name, and it's going to equal something. And that might not make a lot of sense. So let me see if I can kind of explain the different concepts. We're going to create what's known as a variable. If you're familiar with mathematics, a variable is basically an object that stores information. So we store it because we might want to reuse it. In our example we're going to first look at, we're going to ask the user for their name. That name is going to get stored in this variable so that we can reuse it later on to do something else. So we're going to create a variable, maybe call it user's name, and we're going to set it equal to what we want it to be. Now prompt here is going to return a value. You're going to ask the user, what is your name? That's what comes in here. And then this whole thing becomes whatever you type in. If I type in Aaron, it returns Aaron. So this prompt is going to be the right-hand side of our equation. We're going to set our variable equal to whatever is returned by prompt. Let's write that out. So I'm going to add a space here and then do var. You'll often see let as well. I'm just going to do var just to incorporate the idea that it is a variable. I'm going to call it user name equals. So we are going to set the username equal to whatever the user types in. One thing I will note with JavaScript, we often put semicolons at the end of the line. It's kind of like a period in English. It won't cause any errors if you don't. It's just a little bit more correct to do so. And now let's see what's going to happen. We're going to say, hi user. This line's going to run. We're going to ask the user what their name is, and it's going to get stored in here. We're not going to know what happens. It's not really going to do anything, but let's try it. Hello, my name is Aaron, and nothing showed up. That's because we haven't done anything with the variable. So what could we do with it? Well, one thing we could do is use this alert function. We know alert displays information. So let's try and use username in the alert. If I go to alert, we're going to say hello, and do space, and then I'll use plus here. We're basically going to add, this is a little bit of an advanced concept, so I'm going to breeze through it a little bit. This is a string called hello. Our username is a variable right now. So when we add a variable to like a displayed message, we're going to add this plus symbol in here. It's basically saying, take this first string, the hello word, and then add it to this next one. Again, an advanced concept. I'm not going to belabor here because we're just going to see some stuff. JavaScript's a deeper hole that you would have to explore with more time. So for now, we're just going to see some small applications. So we say hi, we ask the user for the name, that name gets stored in username, and then we're going to alert that user by saying hello, that person. Let's try it. Okay, hello user, what is your name? And now when I click OK, now it says hello Aaron. So we have a use for that name, for that variable. Okay. So this is just a demonstration of how we can get information from our user and then we can use it to display something. But what if we wanted to maybe change what is going on our website? What if we wanted not to have like a pop-up here, but we wanted this part to change or something on our website to show up? Let me show you how to do that. Over here, let's give this h1 an ID. I'm just going to call it header1. We can actually get access to this section here. I'm going to delete some of this just so we can close down it. We only care about really the username. I'm not going to alert them for now. We've practiced that. So we're going to get the user's name, and we're going to try and put that user's name on the header. Let's create a variable for this space here. So I'm going to say variable header1 equals. Now to get access to this, it's going to seem a little bit complicated because it's wordy to do this. But this whole section here, we're going to consider it the document. So that is our HTML that we are attached to. And we don't want everything here. We don't want like the head or the body. We just want this section here. So to find it, we can write get element, and then it'll be element by ID. It's this first one here. You might not be able to see it if you don't type it out, but if it's element by ID, you can see it down there. It has to be typed exactly like this, so I would use the kind of suggestions, get element by ID. Each separate word is uppercased. So a complicated name, but in the parentheses, we're gonna put the ID of the thing we want. We want this header here, and its ID is header1. We'll copy that. We'll do quotations and paste in the ID. So this says, go in your HTML document, find the thing called header1, or its ID is called header1, and store it in here. Now, just storing it doesn't really help us. I mean, I can alert header1. Let's just see what that shows up. If I refresh this, it's going to ask, what is your name? That's the first line. And then it's going to alert the header1. It's just saying it's some sort of HTML heading element. Not very useful. But we can change something about it. The header1 is this whole thing. And we want to change what we're seeing, the test right now. We want it to display our name. To access what's inside the text that we're actually seeing, you're going to find the thing you want, header1, and then we'll do .inner HTML. This stands for what is inside of our text, or inside the tag. And we're going to set this equal to the username. So what's going on here? We get the username by asking the user with a prompt, type in your name. That gets stored here. We then, using document.getElementById, we get access to the header that's actually on our page. And the third thing is we say, look in that header, look what's inside the header with the inner HTML, and set it equal to that username. So if we save and refresh, what is your name? It's Aaron. That's going to get stored in our user. And then we end up changing what we see on the page. So now it says Aaron because I said set that header equal to that name. Okay, that's cool. We now have basically a dynamic way to let the user mess with our actual website, start changing things. In the next video, we'll talk about how you can have more control over when this happens.